We're on the trail to Resident Evil 9 now, and while talking about that may be what's expected of me as a Resident Evil YouTuber, I think I learned my lesson about that after uploading my thoughts one day and having a new trailer drop less than 24 hours later. I do have other big video essays planned and I'm working on them in my spare time, which isn't often, so I do want to fill the time in between them with other content, and this was the first thing I thought of, especially as making my original RE4R video ended up with me having to record footage specifically for things I was talking about, and as such I ended up noticing things I hadn't put in the script yet, and which would have just made for awkward insertions or made the video even longer than it was. So without further ado, here are 10 things I didn't get to say in my RE4R video.
I agree. I've had it. And
you know what I've had?
It.
The valley segment in the village might be one of the worst designed areas in the game, which becomes especially apparent on subsequent playthroughs. The game wants you to practice sniping here, since your first meeting with the merchant was just before, and he was selling a sniper rifle. Plus, you have a pretty good post. The problem is, the game staggers enemy spawns according to where you are when moving through the area, so you can only snipe a maximum of 4, maybe 5 enemies before actually heading in. This also means that you can't take out a group of enemies waiting to ambush you by blowing up the explosive barrel they're hanging out next to, because they won't actually be there until you wander up the hill, ruining a chance for a player to use foreknowledge gained from prior plays. There's a crap ton of enemies here, and to leave, you have to both collect the hexagon emblem on the far side of the valley, and rotate the valve at the top of the hill, the latter of which involves standing still. The entire time you're here, enemies are swarming you and dropping dynamite on you. It's ridiculously impractical to try using a handgun or even a machine gun here, since you'll be constantly getting grabbed, forcing you to either waste health shaking enemies off, or waste knife durability rebuffing them. Your best bet is to use the shotgun to take enemies out in one hit, but you'll waste most if not all of your ammo that way, and you can't camp in place and wait for enemies to come to you, because that will get you blown up by dynamite. Oh, and did I mention the rope bridge is a trap because it'll collapse underneath you? This is an infuriating section because there's no fast or easy way to do it no matter how well equipped or experienced you are, and when you die, you'll get a condescending loading screen tip advising you to take it slow and not rush in. I don't want to take it slow. I'm on my 5th playthrough, I know what happens here, and I don't want to be here another 20 fucking minutes. Also abundantly obvious on subsequent playthroughs was how freaking annoying the bear traps are. There are many more bear traps in the remake than there are in their OG, which becomes incredibly annoying given how much more tedious and trialsome the actual combat is. It's not uncommon for me to stop short of a tripwire, carefully aim at it and blow it up without getting hurt, only to stride forward and immediately land in a bear trap. The tripwires make sense to catch unwitting players off guard, since if you're just sprinting through an area carelessly you'll get blown up, but can't avoid them if you just stay aware. The bear traps, though, are often colored the exact same shitty brown color as everything else in this game, and often aren't easy to see if you don't have the camera pointed downward. The only upside is that they don't take off any health like they do in the OG, but that doesn't save them from being excruciatingly annoying. If anything in the game could have used a greater helping of yellow paint, it was these stupid things. The game's idea of show, don't tell is painfully simple. A lot of examine options will just have a close-up of whatever Leon's looking at, without him saying anything, and this is all fine and dandy until Leon is looking at something and I have no idea what it is, like with this spot in Lewis's lab in the final stretch of the game. Like, what is this? What's the significance of it? Leon doesn't comment on it, so I don't know. The same thing goes for the girl that the cult is shown killing in the opening of the game, who bears a remarkable resemblance to Ashley. You can stumble on her body later in the game if you explore a certain area, but unlike a different nearby corpse obviously tortured to death, which he does comment on,
The hell is going on here?
Leon has nothing to say about this one. He also has nothing to say about the circle of candles nearby where nothing is laid in the middle, so whatever this game is trying to communicate about the cult here is completely lost on me.
I wonder what has them so riled up.
I actually only looked up Lily Gao's acting credits very late into the video editing process, so I didn't know until I made the joke at that very moment that yes, Resident Evil 4 Remake was Gao's first time doing voice acting. She's had a sparse acting career traveling back to 2012, but certainly not enough high-budget productions to put her on the course for Resident Evil of all things. Rumor has it they avoided Jolene Anderson due to the latter joining a union, which would be extraordinarily stupid and petty of Capcom.
Whoa, Squidward, you're choking!
There is a specific moment late in the original game that is missing in the remake that I think really harms the overall comparison. In the original, Leon is on the last stretch of his journey to save Ashley, and only really has Sadler left to fight, and crosses paths with Ada, who has already saved him from Krauser and made it clear she's on his side. Leon starts to cough and it looks like everything's chill, and then out of nowhere Leon grabs Ada by the throat and just starts choking the life out of her. This is someone Leon is in love with, and his expression is completely unrecognizable while he's trying to kill her. It's sudden and shocking, and it's gone as quickly as it comes. In my opinion, this was one of the best scenes in the game, because it demonstrated both the true horror of Las Plagas, in that it completely strips you of yourself and turns you into a murderous crazy person, and also the dire situation, since up until that point, Leon's infestation by the parasite had been used against him by Sadler, but there was still a reasonable assurance that Leon himself wouldn't be lost to it. This put a major kick into the final act of the game when the game really needed it, and sold the urgency of the mission.
Disappointed!
Krauser's final fight really depicts Capcom missing the finer points of the original. In the OG, Krauser wielded his Plaga mutation like an actual knife, using the same poses and everything, and mixed his mutation's offensive capabilities with martial arts. This is an important distinction that the remake misses out on. Whereas in most cases a shift like Krauser's would bring about a metaphorical becoming the monster outside and inside, this consistent usage of his mutation like a human weapon ends up highlighting how very human Krauser is. This is how it's supposed to be given that Leon even mourns him after he dies. Krauser in the remake mutates both arms and spits insults about Leon relying on his quote-unquote primitive human body, and attacks like a wild beast, on top of openly deriding the reason Leon assumes for his behavior, which was seemingly set up to make him more sympathetic, just for him to deny it. He kept the dog tags of his fallen soldiers, and he militarized Los Illuminados for the express purpose of taking down the United States, but when the final battle with him comes along, it's all I care about is power, you could never understand. His worldview has become so simplified as to be boring. I may not have fully conveyed just how off-brand and annoying Wesker is in this game. He's genuinely just a generic, dickish villain overlord now. Not only does he not resemble the original Wesker, but he doesn't have any good reasons to act the way he does. This is supposed to be the same guy that fooled stars, including brainiacs like Jill Valentine, that he was on their side and a trustworthy leader. Barely a word gets out of his mouth without him browbeating Ada, though. This Wesker sounds like someone who has never played a Resident Evil game tried to recreate Wesker just based on what was told of them from someone vaguely familiar with the series, and then still got it wrong.
How did you know about the parts you weren't there for?
Speaking of the above two, how did Wesker even get a hold of Krauser's corpse in this version? Since he and Wesker weren't working together in this version, how does he even know who Krauser is, where he was, and that he had something Wesker needed? Ada never told him anything about Krauser, and she only even learned of Krauser's existence because Lewis told her. This is a plot hole. The final Sadler fight in separate ways is blatantly unfair in many ways. He can very easily stunlock you to the point of rendering healing items basically cosmetic. Most of his attacks will take off 50% of a maxed out health bar, entirely too much for a game in which the characters move this slowly. I dislike the rewriting of Los Illuminados to be a genuine religious faction, and dislike the rehauling of Krauser to be fully allegiant to them in pursuit of power, because removing the American origin of their designs neuters the game of its anti-Western hegemony undertones. In the OG game, Leon calls Sadler's cult terrorists, and he's absolutely right to do so.
This is no ritual. It's terrorism.
Isn't that a popular word these days?
However, the original game came about in 2005 during the height of the Iraq War, and this was also where Capcom began laying the foundations of their anti-American imperialism message that would be expanded on in Resident Evil 5.
Wouldn't you rather be back in America than a place like this?
Not necessarily. Some people might think America has its own dark side.
That doesn't sound very patriotic.
I'm just a realist. It's a capitalist society. Not everyone is cut out for that kind of constant pressure. Sure, there are opportunities to be had, but at what price? You gain, someone else loses.
You don't sound like any American I've ever met.
And Bloomin' 4 and Resident Evil 6.
You know, the country I was born in, people think Uncle Sam causes most of the problems in this world.
Yeah, sure. Everyone loves to blame America for everything. Not the bad guys. Look, these terrorists have unleashed bioweapons on our country too.
So the whole world's going to hell.
And Resident Evil Damnation. While Leon isn't wrong to call Los Illuminados terrorists, Salazar also isn't wrong about the proliferation of the word terrorist to target groups with, nor does Sadler's disdain for American heroism come from nowhere either. Krauser, a macho American ex-military defector, criticizes Leon's loyalty to the government, and his word choice of conservative mind is not accidental either.
You don't seriously think a conservative mind can chart a new course for the world, do you?
Not to mention that his whole arc to villainy was started by his loyalty to the American military machine being rewarded with complete abandonment. Resident Evil, in the height of the era people most criticize it for, is a staunchly anti-capitalist and anti-Western hegemony franchise, and the remake missed that mark badly. And there you have it, my last 10 thoughts on Resident Evil 4 Remake, for now. This is hopefully the last time I talk about it at length. If you're looking forward to my upcoming videos, then be on the lookout for new content revolving around Resident Evils 5 and 6. Ciao!